We are always faithful to our desires. All those noble thoughts, all those lofty words, mean nothing when faced with our primal instincts. Those are the inner thoughts of Miyashita, the girl who rarely speaks yet sees everything. The story opens in a typical classroom. Sakai sits slouched at his desk, half asleep, his boredom palpable. A message pops up on his phone. It's from a friend. "Dude, check this out." Attached is a photo of a woman. Sakai glances at it, unfazed. "I've never understood," he thinks. "It's not that I hate women or anything. I just can't bring myself to care. School's dull. Life's dull. I wish something interesting would happen," he mutters to himself. His friends surround him, teasing him like always. "Seriously, man, not even this chick does it for you?" They jab at his total lack of enthusiasm, especially when it comes to girls. Even the best girl in class, sitting right next to him, seems to have no effect on him. Miyashita, quiet, curvy, mysterious. She's got the biggest power and rear in the class, and despite her silence, she has a silent fan base. Boys whisper about her, but she never talks, never reacts, always keeps to herself. As Sakai's friends keep teasing, he shrugs. "I don't have time for that." Suddenly, Miyashita turns to look at him, really looks at him. Without a word, she stands up, turns her back to him, and walks out of the classroom. Sakai watches her go, confused, and maybe, just maybe, something interesting is finally about to happen. The scene shifts to nighttime. Sakai is finishing his part-time shift at the pizza shop. Here, we're introduced to Hirata-san, his friendly and dependable co-worker. In the same scene, another co-worker, Hamada-san, calls Sakai into the break room. "You have to see this," he says. He shows Sakai a photo of a girl. The girl, known online as Yami, has a massive following on social media, and it's growing fast. Apparently, she live streams in revealing clothes and makes a lot of money from subscriptions. Sakai looks at Yami's photos, his eyes widening. "I've never been this amazed before," he admits to himself. Hamada adds that Yami might be crossing dangerous lines, like taking selfies inside a school classroom. Sakai freezes when he sees one of those photos. "Wait, isn't that my classroom?" He stares at the image, unsure. Maybe it just looks similar. Meanwhile, Hamada is thrilled. "I've never seen you this interested in a girl before. Looks like Sakai's got a thing for Yami-chan." But Sakai can't ignore the feeling. There's something about Yami, specifically the beauty mark under her eye. It looks just like the one Miyashita, his quiet classmate, has. Later, as Sakai leaves work, Hirata-san offers to walk home with him. On the way, a more personal truth is revealed. Sakai's mother has gone missing, and his father has fallen into deep depression, unable to work. Sakai now supports them both with his part-time job, feeling it's the least he can do to repay his father. Hirata, moved by his quiet determination, vows to help Sakai find something in life he can truly enjoy. But as they walk, Sakai can't help but glance at Hirata's chest, his mind still tangled in thoughts of Yami. He's unable to shake the feeling that Yami and Miyashita are the same person. Fueled by curiosity, Sakai decides. Tomorrow, he'll confront Miyashita at school. The next day, Sakai sat in class, eyes fixed on Miyashita, the quiet girl who sat beside him. His curiosity was growing, the mole under her eye, just like Yami's, but that alone wasn't proof they were the same person. If only I could see her face clearly, Sakai thought. At that moment, as if on cue, Miyashita turned him and tucked her hair behind her ear, fully revealing her face. Sakai's breath caught. Miyashita was beautiful. But more than that, she looked exactly like Yami. He wanted to ask her directly, but fear held him back. After all, she'd never spoken to him before. What scared him most wasn't being wrong. It was the idea of approaching a girl who'd always seemed so distant. None of the other guys seemed to notice the resemblance between Miyashita and Yami, but Sakai was afraid that suddenly talking to her might make him look suspicious. Still, he couldn't stop imagining Yami whenever he looked at her. Even so, he convinced himself not to confront her. Later, Sakai left school, heading to his part-time job. But halfway there, he realized he'd forgotten something in the classroom and turned back. As he approached, he saw Miyashita leaving the room and, driven by curiosity, decided to follow her. She climbed the stairs to a quiet, empty part of the school. There, she began to undress and pose for photos. Sakai's heart pounded. He was right. Miyashita was Yami. He couldn't look away. And that's when she noticed him. Startled, she froze. Sakai quickly apologized and blurted out the question, "Are you really Yami?" Realizing she'd been found out, Miyashita's demeanor shifted. Calmly, she stepped closer to him. Then she smiled. "Wanna do something fun?" She offered Sakai a role as her personal cameraman. In that moment, Sakai realized something. Maybe this was the unexpected twist he'd been waiting for. A way out of his dull, gray life. Miyashita approaches Sakai with a surprising proposal. She asks if he would be willing to help her as a cameraman for her video projects. Sakai hesitates, unsure how to respond. Sensing his uncertainty, she explains that her videos, aimed at an older audience, have gained significant attention, and she's been looking for a trustworthy assistant. Now that Sakai has discovered her secret, she sees an opportunity for mutual benefit. Sakai says he needs some time to think it over and returns home. That night, he has a strange and vivid dream about Miyashita. In the dream, she's in the classroom, acting more familiar and open than usual. She promises to be supportive and encouraging if he agrees to help her with her videos. As the dream becomes more intense, Sakai wakes up suddenly, confused by the vividness of it all and a bit uncomfortable with his own reaction. The next day at school, Sakai sees Miyashita in the hallway and tries to greet her, but she walks by without acknowledging him. One of his friends notices and teases him, surprised that Sakai would even try to talk to someone like her. He reminds him that Miyashita usually keeps to herself and doesn't interact much with the boys. Later that morning, their class gathers in the audio-visual room. Hoping to keep a low profile, Sakai finds a seat near the back. To his surprise, Miyashita walks over and sits beside him. As the lights dim and a video begins to play, Sakai feels the weight of her quiet presence next to him. He glances her way, noticing something about her demeanor, calm yet subtly defiant. It leaves him even more intrigued about who she really is and what she's hiding beneath the surface. As the video plays in the darkened room, Miyashita leans slightly towards Sakai. At first, he thinks she's just shifting in her seat, but then he notices the subtle movements, her fingers brushing the ribbon on her uniform, the faint rustle of fabric. There's an almost theatrical air about her actions, like she's performing a quiet rebellion hidden in plain sight. Sakai watches, puzzled and a little anxious. He doesn't understand what she's trying to say with these gestures, or why she's dressed in a way that feels more like a statement than a fashion choice. Then, without speaking, she slides a small folded note across the desk. Hesitant, he opens it. The message is brief but direct. "Take a picture of me with your phone." He glances at her in disbelief, unsure whether she's serious. But Miyashita just gives him a calm, knowing smile. With quiet confidence, she removes her blazer and unbuttons the top of her shirt. Not enough to break the school's rules outright, but enough to suggest she's testing the limits. Beneath it, a brightly colored bra peeks through, a contrast to her usual composed image. Sakai's heart pounds. He looks around, worried someone might notice. But the room is dark, and the other students are focused on the screen. Miyashita leans closer, whispering, "Well, hurry." Nervously, he lifts his phone and snaps a few quick pictures. She begins to pose subtly, adjusting her posture and expression with a playful glint in her eye. Her confidence unnerves him, but also draws him in. As Sakai watches her shift and pose, he feels a strange mix of awe and disbelief. She's fearless, he thinks. She knows exactly what she's doing. Then, with a slightly mischievous grin, Miyashita gently places his hand on her shoulder, just for a second, before pulling away and buttoning her shirt again. The moment vanishes as quickly as it came. She slips her blazer back on and leans back in her chair, the same calm smile on her face as if nothing had happened. Sakai sits frozen, unsure what to think, but certain that his world just became a lot more complicated. When the class ends, the lights come back on, and reality rushes in. They quietly slip out, meeting in the stairwell between periods. Miyashita checks her phone and smiles. One of the shots you took already ranking on the site, she says, clearly pleased. She turns to him with a teasing tone. So, what did you think of your first real shoot? You're kind of easy to read, you know. Her grin widens, eyes sparkling with mischief. Now, are you ready to give me your answer? Sakai hesitates, the weight of everything swirling in his mind. It all feels surreal, but exhilarating. He knows it's a wild idea, maybe even reckless. But for the first time in a long while, his quiet routine feels like it might finally change. And deep down, he doesn't want this strange connection with Miyashita to end. I'm in, he says. Miyashita's face lights up with satisfaction. Laughing, she playfully tosses her scarf into his arms. Then it's a deal. That's your reward for saying yes. Sakai catches it, speechless. He watches as she walks off, confident, unpredictable, and entirely unforgettable. If you made it this far, you're definitely one of us. Want to see the full manga breakdowns? No cuts, no filters, no boring black bars getting in the way? Then sneak over to our Don't Tell Senpai Patreon. Over there, we go without filters. Full manga videos, a wild, like-minded community, and stuff we really can't post here on YouTube. Links in the description. But remember, don't tell senpai. See you on the other side.